The world outside Anna's window was a silent blue haze, the kind of pre-dawn quiet that felt heavy, almost sacred, until it was broken by the flash of red and blue lights slashing across the snow. Anna blinked awake, heart thudding, confusion sharpening into fear as she saw the lights strobing across her bedroom ceiling. She stumbled from bed, feet numb against the floor, and yanked aside the curtain. Police cruisers idled at the curb, engines rumbling, and snow drifted thick and slow through the beams of their headlights. It should have been peaceful, but nothing about this scene was right. Her eyes dropped to the porch, and that's when she saw them, bloody paw prints trailing across the white boards, smeared in the places where something heavy had been dragged. Her breath caught. A scream stuck somewhere between her chest and throat. For a split second, her mind struggled to make sense of it, refusing to connect the dots between blood, paw prints, and the one creature she trusted most in this world. Anna tore open the front door, slippers forgotten, stepping straight into the crunch of new snow. Cold air bit at her skin, but adrenaline burned hotter. Her gaze followed the crimson trail, and there, collapsed by the porch steps, was Hunter. He was a hulking German shepherd, his coat grizzled with age and patches of old scars, but nothing prepared Anna for the sight of blood slicked over his muzzle, staining the white around his eyes and pooling beneath him in the snow. In his jaws, tangled in his teeth, was a scrap of red and white scarf. Lily's scarf. Anna's mind reeled. She dropped to her knees beside him, snow soaking through her pajama pants. "Hunter!" Her hands shook as she reached for him, her voice choked and wild. Hunter whined softly, the sound thin and pained, but didn't resist as she cradled his massive head in her lap. She tried not to look at the gash along his flank or the dark patches on his chest. Her fingers searched for a pulse, for warmth, for any sign that he'd stay with her just a little longer. He blinked up at her, eyes pleading, then shifted, as if trying to rise. Anna's mind whirled. Where was Lily? Her daughter's room had been empty when she checked. The sight of her scarf, shredded and bloodied, felt like the world crumbling beneath her feet. She fumbled for her phone, hands barely working, dialing 911 and stammering words that felt slippery and unreal. "My daughter. She's missing. My dog. He's hurt. There's blood everywhere. Please. I need help." Even as she waited, panic wrestled with instinct. Should she search for Lily herself? Should she press towels to Hunter's wounds and try to save his life? Time, which usually moved in measured seconds, fractured into jagged, unbearable pieces. Hunter shifted, whining louder, trying to get up. His back legs buckled, but his eyes were fixed on the woods beyond the road. Wild, determined. He nudged Anna's arm, pushing toward the darkness under the pines, as if begging her to follow. She hesitated, torn in two by an impossible choice. Save the dog who'd saved her life so many times before, or trust him to lead her to the only thing that mattered more: her daughter. The sirens came, distant at first, then swelling loud and urgent. Paramedics spilled out. The police chief, a burly man with graying hair and worry carved deep into his face, strode toward her. "Anna, what happened?" She couldn't answer. The only thing that mattered was the trail Hunter seemed desperate to follow, the mystery he carried in blood and torn fabric. She pressed her forehead to his, whispering, "You know, don't you? You're my only hope." Hunter whined, then, summoning what little strength he had, he limped forward, blood dotting the snow, never once looking back. And Anna, her world spinning, her heart torn between the child she loved and the dog who'd never let her down, made her choice. She grabbed Hunter's leash, wiped her eyes, and plunged after him into the cold blue shadows, not knowing if she was chasing hope or running from the worst night of her life. The woods loomed ahead, ancient and silent, holding secrets in every drift and shadow. Anna's mind spun with questions. What happened to Lily? How did her traumatized, retired K9 become her daughter's only chance? Could she trust him one more time? The only certainty was the blood in the snow, the agony in Hunter's every step, and the fierce, unstoppable love that would drive her to the ends of the earth, if that's what it took. The last thing she saw as she vanished into the trees was Hunter, ears flat, teeth clenched, dragging himself forward, not just out of loyalty, but out of love. And in that moment, as the world held its breath, Anna dared to hope. If Hunter could stand, maybe, just maybe, so could she. Anna barely felt the snow soaking through her pajamas as she staggered after Hunter, her vision swimming between panic and determination. She could hear the paramedics behind her, calling out for her to wait. But the only thing she cared about was the battered dog limping ahead, eyes fixed on the forest like he alone knew the way to salvation. The porch was now a scene of chaos. Police radios crackled, blue lights strobing, and the neighbors' curious faces peered from behind curtains. Anna heard footsteps crunching through the snow behind her and turned to see Chief Dale, his breath coming out in white puffs, catching up to her. "Anna, you need to let the paramedics help your dog," he said, his voice clipped, trying to sound both authoritative and gentle. "You're too close to this. Let us do our jobs." Anna spun on him, adrenaline spiking. "Too close? That's my daughter, Dale. My daughter is missing, and Hunter is the only thing I've got. I'm not letting anyone take him away." Dale's eyes flickered with something between sympathy and frustration. "Look, we're doing everything we can. We'll have search teams out there in minutes. Dogs, drones, the works. But you need to let the professionals handle this. Please, Anna, for your own sake." But Anna was already dropping to one knee beside Hunter, burying her fingers in his thick, trembling ruff. His sides heaved, every breath a struggle. Yet when she pulled Lily's bloodied scarf from his mouth and held it out, he leaned in, nose twitching, lips pulled back in a low, determined growl. He pawed at the front door, then at the snow, as if desperate to make her understand. One of the paramedics approached, trying to be gentle. "Ma'am, he needs help. He's lost a lot of blood. We have to get him to the clinic right away." Anna's hands balled into fists. "No, not yet. He's my only lead." Her voice cracked, half a plea, half an order. "Please, just give me a minute." The paramedics exchanged glances, helpless, uncertain. Anna saw the doubt on their faces. To them, she was just a panicked mother, desperate, maybe even unstable. They couldn't see what she saw in Hunter's eyes, a flicker of something old, something resolute, a promise he would not break. She pressed the scarf to his nose again. Hunter's ears pricked. He whined, head turning toward the line of trees at the edge of the property. With a guttural sound deep in his chest, he forced himself upright, every muscle shaking, blood matting his side. Anna could see now. He hadn't just been in a fight with another animal. There were deep scratches along his ribs, and a patch of fur was torn away, exposing raw skin. The injuries were too precise, too brutal, for anything but a human hand. She looked up at Chief Dale, desperation sharpening into anger. "You said you'd do everything. Are you going to stand here arguing with me? Or are you going to help find my daughter?" Dale hesitated, his jaw clenched. "I'm not letting you go out there alone. But the dog needs help, Anna. He can barely walk." Anna ignored him, her mind whirling. If she let the paramedics take Hunter, she'd lose the only trail they had. If she waited for police procedure, The snow would cover the tracks, the scent would fade, and Lily could vanish forever. She remembered her days as a Marine, how hesitation could be fatal, how you sometimes had to break orders to save the people you loved. Suddenly, a commotion erupted. Hunter let out a warning bark, startling the paramedics. Anna used the distraction. In a swift, practiced motion, she looped his leash around her wrist and slipped between the paramedics, dragging Hunter with her. He stumbled, but as soon as his paws touched the snow, he caught the scent and lurched forward, his whole body trembling with effort. Shouts followed her. "Ma'am, wait!" But Anna tuned them out. She cut through the backyard, vaulting over a low fence, her breath coming in ragged bursts. The world shrank to the crunch of snow beneath her boots, and the sight of Hunter's bloodied paw prints painting a path through the white. As they reached the edge of the woods, Hunter paused, nose pressed to the ground, then glanced back at Anna as if to make sure she was still following. She nodded, determination hardening inside her like ice. "I'm right here. Lead the way." The woods were a different world, silent, muffled, each branch heavy with snow, every shadow stretching long and blue in the weak dawn light. Anna's senses sharpened, old instincts rising in her. The Marine in her took over, scanning for threats, marking their path, cataloging every sound, the snap of a twig, the flutter of a bird, the distant wail of sirens. Hunter moved with purpose, pausing now and then to sniff at branches, scraping at the ground where blood smeared the snow. Anna could see the trail now. A broken branch here, a splash of crimson there. Her heart thudded so hard she thought it might burst. She couldn't think about what might have happened to Lily. She could only focus on the search, on each step forward. Behind her, voices faded. The search party was forming, but Anna was already far ahead, pushing deeper into the forest with every painful stride. Hunter faltered, but each time Anna offered Lily's scarf, he surged forward again, driven by loyalty and something like hope. In a rare moment of calm, Anna paused, catching her breath and wiping the sweat from her brow despite the cold. She knelt beside Hunter, stroking his ears. "Good boy. We're going to find her, I promise." Hunter gazed up at her, brown eyes luminous with pain but full of trust. He pressed his head into her hand, shivering. Anna's heart ached. She could feel the trauma radiating from him. He'd been through something brutal, yet he still fought on. That was something they shared, a history of wounds and perseverance. Suddenly, Hunter jerked his head, nose twitching. He pawed frantically at the ground, then barked, a low, urgent sound that made Anna's blood run cold. Ahead, deeper in the trees, the snow was disturbed, a set of tracks, smaller and lighter, moving fast and erratic. Anna crouched, reading the signs as she'd learned to do in another life. Broken twigs, a faint thread of pink, Lily's jacket. Hunter whined, the sound rising to a whimper. Anna closed her eyes for half a second, steeling herself. She wouldn't let fear paralyze her. In that moment, she understood. She wasn't just searching for Lily. She was fighting for her own redemption, for the chance to prove, maybe to herself more than anyone, that she was strong enough, that she could keep her child safe. Hunter licked her hand, then limped ahead, leading her deeper into the heart of the woods as the sun began to rise, painting the world in gold and blue. Behind her, Anna could hear the distant shouts of the search party. Ahead, there was only silence, the promise of answers, and the unbreakable bond between a wounded mother and her battered, loyal dog. And as the forest swallowed them whole, Anna felt something she hadn't known in hours. Hope. The woods seemed to swallow Anna and Hunter as soon as they passed the last line of suburban fences. All traces of home, of streetlights, sirens, and the flashing chaos of police, vanished behind a wall of pines and ancient birches. Snow muffled every step, turning even Anna's hurried breaths into something quieter, more secretive. Here only the broken trail of blood and the battered paw prints in the snow marked their way forward. Hunter paused every few steps, nostrils flaring as he drank in the scents tangled beneath the cold. Anna tried to steady her breathing, but every sound, her boots crunching, the distant caw of a crow, the snap of a twig under Hunter's weight, made her nerves jangle. The adrenaline from before was fading, replaced by a trembling fear she remembered all too well from her time overseas. That cold, merciless kind that curled deep in your gut and refused to let go. Her mind jerked back to Afghanistan. She saw herself in the pitch black of some half-forgotten valley, her squad moving quietly along goat trails, senses tuned to every whisper in the darkness. She remembered the responsibility, the paralyzing fear that one wrong step could mean disaster for someone you loved. It was the same feeling now, except the stakes felt even higher. There was no body armor, no backup, just a desperate mother, a wounded canine, and the cold. Hunter pressed against her leg, surprising her with his weight. He was shivering, the tremors running down his flanks not just from pain, but from something deeper, more familiar. Anna looked down, her hand automatically falling to his head, stroking his ears in the same way she'd comforted fellow Marines shaking after an IED blast. His breath steamed in the air, uneven, almost ragged, but his eyes were locked on the trail ahead, full of purpose, even as they flashed with ghosts of past pain. Anna knelt in the snow, giving herself a moment to steady. "You and me, huh?" she whispered, her voice barely carrying. "We've been through worse." Hunter's ears flicked. He nudged her, pressing closer, and she could feel the heat of his body through her coat. In his pain and determination, Anna recognized a mirror of her own trauma, a stubborn refusal to quit, even when the world seemed to demand it. A sudden glint in the snow snapped Anna back to the present. She crawled forward, heart hammering, and spotted something small and bright pink beside a fallen log. A mitten. Lily's mitten, dusted with snow, its edges torn and dirty. Anna's fingers shook as she picked it up. She could see faint smudges, maybe blood, maybe mud, on the palm. It was warm from the sun, just barely, which meant Lily had dropped it not long ago. The relief that surged through her chest was so fierce it almost knocked her sideways. Her daughter had been here. She was still alive. But next to the mitten, Anna noticed broken branches, a patch of snow that looked churned up, and what could have been the drag marks of small feet. There'd been a struggle. Anna's heart seized. Had Lily tried to fight back? Had someone pulled her through here? Anna closed her eyes for a moment, guilt washing over her. She should have been there. She should have protected her. She shouldn't have let her out of sight for even a second. A sudden yelp from Hunter drew her back. He was limping more now, one paw barely touching the ground, blood leaving small droplets on the snow. Anna knelt and checked his side. The wounds looked worse, and she cursed herself for not bringing medical supplies. But Hunter, even in pain, nosed at the mitten in her hand, then at the trail ahead, as if reminding her that their job wasn't finished. She hugged him, pressing her face into his fur, the scent of dog and blood mingling with the sharp air. "I'm sorry," she whispered, not just to Hunter, but to the memory of her husband, to all the friends she'd lost, to Lily, wherever she was. The sense of failure was a heavy, familiar stone. But Hunter licked her cheek, rough and insistent, pulling her back from the spiral. His tail thumped once, a silent command, "Get up, keep going." Anna drew in a long, shuddering breath. She wiped her face, shoved the mitten deep in her pocket, and stood. She let her eyes sweep the surroundings again, marine instincts taking over. Always scan, always mark your exits, always stay alert. The snow had started to fall more heavily, threatening to erase every sign Lily had left behind. They pressed on, Anna crouching low to study the ground, Hunter moving slow but stubborn as ever. The forest was a labyrinth of white and gray, shadows hiding in every hollow. Anna's mind spun with memories, the close calls overseas, the moments she'd felt just as lost, just as desperate to save someone. She remembered how easy it was to blame herself when things went wrong. That old voice was back now, whispering that she wasn't a good enough mother, that she'd failed her husband by not saving him, that she was failing Lily now. But every time Anna stumbled, Hunter was there, his nose cold against her wrist, his eyes telling her to push through. They were both scarred, both carrying burdens, but out here in the endless winter, their pain was something they shared, not something that divided them. The path took them deeper into the woods. Anna checked her watch. An hour had passed, maybe more. Every minute felt like an eternity. Her phone had no signal. There was only the forest, the trail, and Hunter. Suddenly, Hunter froze, ears pricked, body low. Anna followed his gaze and spotted another splash of color in the snow, a small blue ribbon tied around a branch. Lily's favorite. Anna's throat closed up. She took it down, fingers brushing the bark, and saw a faint indentation in the snow beneath it. Someone had knelt here recently. But then she saw something else. A footprint, larger than Lily's. An adult. The tread was unfamiliar, but unmistakable. Anna's stomach twisted. Someone had been following, maybe even leading Lily through the woods. This was no random disappearance. This was abduction. She crouched, letting her mind go silent, thinking back to the long, tense patrols where every decision meant life or death. She focused on her training, suppressing panic. She looked at Hunter, who was watching her, and nodded. They moved on, the trail growing fainter. But Anna was relentless. Hunter stumbled, but she carried his weight when he needed it, refusing to let him fall behind. Their survival depended on each other. Her eyes and hands, his nose and heart. At one point, Anna heard the distant echo of voices, search teams maybe, calling her name. She ignored them. She couldn't afford to turn back. By midday, Anna felt exhaustion threatening to pull her under. But then, just as her hope began to flicker, Hunter let out a sharp bark. Ahead, in the shadow of a fallen tree, was a splash of pink, the other mitten. Anna rushed forward, dropping to her knees. There, in the snow, were clear signs of a struggle. Broken branches, blood, drag marks. Anna forced herself to analyze, to stay calm, even as fear clawed at her insides. Lily was fighting. She was alive. But she needed her mother more than ever. Hunter whined, licking Anna's hand, as if telling her, "I'm not giving up, neither should you." Anna hugged him hard, drawing strength from his battered body, from the unspoken bond that had carried them through so many dark nights. She wiped her eyes, stood, and together they pressed forward. Two survivors, united by pain and hope, determined to find the light in the forest's endless shadow. Underscore 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 night descended like a heavy curtain over the woods, turning every snow-laden branch and frozen bush into a silhouette of memory and fear. Anna huddled beneath the low branches of a pine, her back pressed against the rough trunk. She'd built a small fire, careful to keep the flames low and shielded from the wind with rocks and a makeshift barricade of fallen logs. The flicker of light offered a fragile sense of safety against the vast, indifferent dark. Beside her, Hunter curled up, nose tucked beneath his battered forepaw, breath coming in uneven, shallow bursts. The cold gnawed at Anna's bones, but she barely noticed. Her hands shook, not just from the dropping temperature, but from the gnawing ache of guilt and terror. Each time the wind shifted, she imagined hearing Lily's voice, a faint cry, the giggle of her daughter chasing snowflakes, or the distant snap of twigs under hurried footsteps. But the only real sound was the pop and hiss of the fire, the occasional whimper from Hunter, and her own breath, ragged and uneven. She glanced at Hunter, his body curled tight, shivering even this close to the flames. Anna reached over, gently examining the wounds along his side. The blood had mostly clotted, but the skin was angry and raw, the fur matted and sticky. She tore a strip from her flannel shirt, dipped it in melted snow, and cleaned his wounds as best she could. Hunter winced, letting out a low, mournful whine, but never snapped or pulled away. Anna's heart clenched. "You've done enough, old boy. You don't have to keep pushing," she whispered, her voice hoarse. She realized she was speaking as much to herself as to Hunter. For a long while, Anna said nothing more. She stared into the flames, letting the shadows dance across her face, replaying every moment from that terrible morning, every second she'd failed to keep Lily safe. Her mind slipped into old patterns, the same guilt that haunted her since her husband's death, the faces of patients she'd lost in Afghanistan, the feeling of helplessness that always came in the quiet aftermath of chaos. Without thinking, she began to speak to Hunter, soft confessions meant for the dark. "You know, I used to think if I tried hard enough, trained hard enough, I could save everybody. But that's not how life works, is it?" Her voice cracked. "There are always some you can't reach in time. Some you just lose." She swallowed. "I lost him. I lost men and women who trusted me now. God, now I've lost her. My little girl." Hunter shifted, nudged her hand with his nose. Anna smiled weakly and rubbed behind his ears. "But you're still here," she murmured. "You keep coming back. Even with all these scars, you just keep fighting." Hunter gazed at her, eyes old and wise before letting his head rest on her thigh. His trust, his willingness to stay, steadied her. Anna felt tears burn in her eyes. She wiped them away roughly, unwilling to let the dark see her break. The fire crackled lower. Anna reached into her pocket, pulling out the mitten she'd found earlier. She turned it over in her hands, desperate for some sign, some hidden message. Something caught her eye. A small, hard lump stitched inside the lining. Her heart pounded as she picked at the threads with trembling fingers, finally prying loose a tightly folded scrap of paper. She stared, breathless, as she unfolded it. By the weak glow of the fire, Anna squinted to read the tiny, smudged handwriting. "Mom, I love you. Look for the birch trees and the rocks that look like dogs. I'll wait for you there. Lily." A sob rose in Anna's throat. Relief, pride, and terror all at once. Lily was alive. Not only that, but she was leaving clues, fighting to come home. Anna clutched the note to her chest, her heart beating fast. She looked at Hunter, showing him the mitten and the message. "She's smart, isn't she?" Anna managed a watery smile. Hunter thumped his tail, understanding enough to nuzzle her hand in response. The fire burned lower, but Anna's spirit was no longer on the edge of collapse. She used her marine training to plan their next move. Birch trees and rocks like dogs. We head northeast at first light. You rest, partner. We need all the strength we can get. She pulled Hunter closer, using her jacket to drape warmth over both of them. His breathing slowed, and soon he drifted into a fitful sleep, his paws twitching with dreams or memories of pursuit and pain. Anna kept one hand on his side, steadying both him and herself. She couldn't sleep. Not really. The trauma she carried, memories of her husband, the war, and now Lily, buzzed under her skin, refusing to let her rest. Instead, she let her thoughts wander over the strange echoes of fate that had led her here into the dark with a wounded dog and a thread of hope. Sometime after midnight, Anna was startled awake by a distant sound. A bark, faint but unmistakable, somewhere deeper in the woods. Hunter jerked up beside her, ears pricked. For a moment, Anna's heart soared. Could it be Lily's captors, careless with their guard dog? Or was it Lily, somehow coaxing a stray to send a message? Anna decided it didn't matter. Any sign of life was better than the empty quiet. She looked up at the cold sky, the stars sharp and watchful, and made herself a promise. No matter how deep the darkness, she would not give up on Lily. And with Hunter at her side, battered but alive, she was not alone. The hours passed slowly, dawn just a hint of gray along the treetops. Anna felt her strength returning, her old self, the one who didn't quit, rising again. She would follow Lily's clues, use every skill she'd ever learned, and fight as long as it took. As long as it took to bring her daughter home and maybe, just maybe, to find her own way back too. And as the first faint light filtered through the pines, Anna squeezed Hunter's paw. "We're not done yet," she whispered. "You and me. We're going to finish this." Dawn came slow and gray, seeping between the trees and painting the snow in pale blue shadows. Anna pressed her palm to Hunter's side, feeling his steady if labored breath. The fire had burned out to coals, but the cold stung her cheeks, sharpening her senses. She took one last look at the note from Lily, memorizing every word. Birch trees, rocks that look like dogs. It was hope and purpose, just enough to push away the fear. "Let's move, partner," she whispered, and Hunter stirred, rising stiffly but resolute. Anna checked his wounds again, tied the remains of her shirt around his chest, then pocketed the mitten and folded note. She stood, brushed snow from her pants, and helped Hunter to his feet. The woods were still, the hush broken only by the sound of their progress. Hunter's limping steps, Anna's boots crunching, the soft brush of branches. Anna followed her compass northeast, eyes peeled for the birches, white trunks rising like pale sentinels from the snow. She kept her senses sharp, mind working through every lesson she'd learned in war and motherhood. Stay alert. Read the signs. Don't waste energy on what you can't control. They moved slowly, Hunter taking the lead whenever he picked up Lily's scent or caught a trace of blood on the snow. After nearly an hour, Anna spotted them. A tight cluster of birch trees, their bark white as bone, peeling in long strips. At their feet were rocks, 3 of them, worn by time and weather until their shapes vaguely resembled hounds at rest. Anna felt her breath catch, a rush of pride for Lily, for the cleverness and courage it took to leave this sign. But the forest here was different. The air felt charged, tense, as if something was waiting. Anna slowed, dropping into a crouch, scanning for movement. She caught the faint smell of wood smoke on the air, different from her own fire, and her gut clenched. Someone was nearby. Hunter tensed, ears flat, He let out a low, barely audible growl. Anna knelt and put a hand to his collar. "Easy, boy. We need to see first." Ahead, beyond the birch grove, the ground sloped down to a clearing choked with thorns and half-buried logs. In the center stood a squat, weathered cabin. Old rangers' quarters, probably, long abandoned except for desperate hunters and vagrants. Anna's stomach twisted. A thin line of smoke curled from a metal chimney pipe. This was where Lily's clues led. They crept closer, using the undergrowth for cover. Anna's breath caught as she saw a shape moving behind a curtain, small, slight. Lily, her daughter, alive. But she wasn't alone. Another figure moved inside, pacing. Anna's mind reeled with possibilities. A lost hiker, a hunter, or something worse. She ducked lower, keeping out of sight, her heart pounding in her chest. Then, through a cracked window, she heard a familiar voice, one that didn't fit the horror she felt. Dr. Lewis. He was their veterinarian, the man who'd treated Hunter's wounds in the past, who'd handed Lily lollipops at every visit and joked about her becoming his assistant one day. Relief and confusion warred in Anna's chest. What was Lewis doing here? Why was Lily with him? Hunter tensed at her side, baring his teeth. Anna's instincts screamed. Something wasn't right. She moved closer, keeping to the shadows, and watched. Inside the cabin, Dr. Lewis crouched next to Lily, offering her water, speaking in a voice that was too smooth, too gentle, rehearsed. Anna caught a flash of metal in his belt, a pistol. The sight of it, casual and out of place, sent a jolt through her. Lewis's back was turned to the window, but Anna could see Lily's eyes, wide, scared, searching for hope. Anna scanned the area, noting details. Footprints in the snow, tire tracks leading off into the woods, a battered animal crate leaning against the side of the cabin. She pieced it together. The rumors of missing dogs in town, Hunter's odd scars, the way Lewis always offered to check on animals even after hours. Her stomach turned. Was he involved in something worse than she imagined? Hunter pawed at the ground, low and anxious. Anna squeezed his neck. "Not yet," she whispered. Suddenly, the door creaked open. Lewis stepped out, lighting a cigarette, his posture casual, but his eyes scanning the tree line. Anna ducked, heart pounding, but he didn't spot her. After a moment, he tossed the cigarette and walked back inside, bolting the door behind him. Anna weighed her options. She could call for help, but cell service was still dead, and the search parties were God knew where. She could storm the cabin, but Lewis was armed and Lily was inside. She needed a distraction, something to give her an edge. She reached into her pack, pulled out a flare, military surplus, kept from her Marine days. She whispered to Hunter, "On my mark, get ready." Anna crept around to the far side of the cabin, out of Lewis's line of sight, and lit the flare. It hissed, smoke billowing, a blaze of red against the morning snow. She tossed it into the woods, then doubled back, using the chaos to approach the door. Inside, Lily jumped at the noise. Lewis turned, startled. In that instant, Hunter charged. The battered K9 hurled himself at the door, teeth bared. The door banged open, Hunter crashing through just as Anna barreled in behind him. "Lily!" Anna screamed. Dr. Lewis spun, gun drawn. He fired, a deafening crack, but Hunter lunged, taking the hit in his shoulder, knocking Lewis sideways. The gun skittered across the floor. Anna dove, slamming her weight into Lewis, wrestling the weapon away. Lily scrambled free, darting into Anna's arms, sobbing. Anna pressed her close, fighting tears of her own. "I've got you, baby. I'm here, I'm here." Hunter limped to Anna's side, blood streaming from his shoulder, but his eyes were bright, triumphant. Louis, pinned beneath Anna's knee, spat curses, struggling. "You have no idea what you're doing, Anna. You're ruining everything." Anna pressed the gun to his head, voice icy. "You so much as twitch, and you'll regret it." For a moment, the world froze. The gun, the sobbing child, the battered dog, and the broken man on the floor. But Anna didn't waver. She tied Louis's hands with a cord from her pack, dragged him outside, and locked the cabin door behind them. She cradled Lily, breathing her in, feeling her daughter's heart racing in sync with her own. "It's over," she whispered. But a chill ran through her. Something told her it wasn't finished yet. Hunter slumped against her, exhausted but alive. Anna stroked his head, tears stinging her eyes. "You did good, boy. You saved us again." But somewhere deeper in the woods, Anna knew the real danger was just waking up. The world outside the old cabin was cold and wild, the snow crunching beneath Anna's boots as she half-carried, half-dragged Lily through the brambles and broken logs. The brief euphoria of reunion was already dissolving into a new terror. Hunter, bleeding heavily from his shoulder, limped beside them, eyes darting, head low but spirit unbroken. Behind them, Dr. Louis's howls of rage echoed from where Anna had bound him, but Anna's instincts screamed it was not over. There was no time to savor safety. The danger had only changed shape. Anna's mind raced as they moved, adrenaline pushing her muscles past exhaustion. Lily clung to her, breath coming in panicked little bursts. "Mom, are we safe? Is he gone?" The child's voice was thin, hoarse from crying and cold. "Not yet, sweetheart. But I've got you. I'm not letting go." Anna forced her tone to sound steady, every word a lifeline. "Hunter's with us. We just have to keep moving, okay?" Hunter let out a low, urgent whine and paused, nose high in the wind. Anna saw him glance back toward the cabin, and then deeper into the woods. There was movement, faint but unmistakable in the trees. Shadows flickered, too big to be deer or coyotes. Another figure, Louis's accomplice maybe, or someone even worse, skirted the edge of the clearing, trying to flank them. Anna's blood ran cold. She gripped Lily's hand tighter and turned off the obvious path, cutting through thickets, bending low to avoid the scratch of ice-caked branches. Hunter led, blood trailing behind him on the snow, but he refused to falter. Anna fought the urge to stop and tend his wound. There was no time. They needed distance. Shots rang out behind them, sharp and panicked, ricocheting through the trees. Anna ducked, pulling Lily with her behind a wide-trunked oak. The girl whimpered, covering her ears. "Mom, I'm scared!" Anna's old training kicked in. Scan, assess, move. Stay low, we're okay. She scanned the trees. Hunter bared his teeth, eyes narrowing as he braced himself in front of Lily. From behind, Anna heard cursing and crashing. Louis must have freed himself, or his friend had found him. Either way, their window was shrinking. Anna's heart thundered. She forced herself to think tactically. There was a stream to the east, ice-covered but not fully frozen. If they could cross, they might lose the trail, at least for a while. She picked Lily up, nodding to Hunter. "With me. We head for the river." They moved fast, weaving through tangled undergrowth, their breath steaming in the frigid air. Anna's legs burned, but fear overrode fatigue. Hunter moved ahead, pausing every few yards to look back, his loyalty a beacon in the dark. Anna's thoughts kept flashing to his injuries, the way blood soaked the bandage she'd made. But Hunter would not stop. Behind them, the shouts grew louder. Two voices now, male, desperate and angry. A flash of movement. Anna risked a glance back and saw a man in a dark jacket, Louis's accomplice, raising a gun. The first shot whined through the branches above her head, spraying bark. Anna ducked and pushed Lily into a shallow ditch, covering her daughter's body with her own. Hunter whirled, barking savagely, planting himself between Anna and the threat. Anna felt panic rising in her throat. Memories of Afghanistan flooding back, the chaos of gunfire, and the helplessness of not being able to protect everyone. Lily shook, her face pressed into Anna's shoulder. I can't. Anna hugged her tight. Yes, you can. Look at me. She gently turned Lily's face, her eyes burning with determination. You're the bravest girl I know. We just have to keep going, one step at a time. A snarl from Hunter. Anna turned. The second man was closer, almost upon them, gun drawn. Anna scanned for cover. Nothing but thin trees and snowdrifts. Then, through the chaos, she saw a faint animal trail heading toward the river. She grabbed Lily and scrambled to her feet, calling, "Go, Hunter, go!" They broke from the ditch, racing for the water's edge. Hunter led, limping but undaunted, blood marking every step. Anna's lungs ached. She heard more shots, wood splintering, snow exploding at their heels. The world shrank to the pounding of her heart and the desperate need to keep Lily alive. They reached the stream, a wide, frozen expanse with dark water visible beneath the thin crust of ice. Anna hesitated, weighing the risk. The shots behind her made the choice clear. Hold on to me, she told Lily. Don't let go. Anna stepped onto the ice, testing her weight. It groaned, but held. She edged forward, dragging Lily and calling Hunter. The dog hesitated, then followed, claws scrabbling for purchase. They were halfway across when Anna heard the voices behind them, closer now, Lewis and his accomplice crashing through the brush. "Come back, Anna!" Lewis screamed. "You can't run from this!" Anna kept moving. Suddenly, a bullet smacked into the ice at her feet, cracking the surface. She felt it shudder, a spiderweb of fissures racing away from her boots. Hunter reached the far bank first, pulling himself up and turning to bark at their pursuers. Anna all but tossed Lily ahead, then scrambled herself, ignoring the ice's ominous groans. A final, thunderous crack split the air. Then she was on solid ground, dragging Lily and Hunter into the cover of dense brush. They collapsed together, Anna gasping for breath, arms wrapped around Lily and Hunter pressed against her thigh. The gunfire ceased. She heard angry shouts, the sounds of men searching the opposite bank. But the river stood between them now, a fragile barrier of ice and water. Anna risked a look at Hunter. He was bleeding heavily, his sides heaving, but he kept his body between Anna, Lily, and the threat. Anna blinked back tears. "You can rest now, Hunter," she whispered, but he only nudged her hand, eyes fierce and loyal. A sudden thought struck Anna. How had Lewis known where to find them so quickly? Why hadn't they shaken him off? She racked her mind, then remembered. Hunter's last vet appointment. The strange scar on his neck. A chip. A GPS chip. Lewis had tagged him under the guise of a routine visit. Fury surged through Anna. She pulled out her knife, carefully feeling along Hunter's fur until she found the raised scar, the hard lump beneath the skin. Lily watched, wide-eyed but silent, as Anna pressed the blade to the skin. "Hold on, boy. I'm sorry." Hunter whined but stayed perfectly still. Anna cut, hands shaking, and dug out the tiny chip, smashing it with a rock and tossing it into the river. The relief was instant. The enemy would have to hunt them by old-fashioned means now. Anna pressed her forehead to Hunter's. "You saved us again," she whispered. "We're not done yet, but you bought us time." For a long moment, they huddled in the snow, Anna, Lily, and Hunter, bound by pain, terror, and a love that would not break. Somewhere behind them, the men kept searching, their rage echoing over the ice. But Anna knew they had a chance now. It wasn't much, but sometimes all you need is hope and each other. The river behind them groaned, the ice shifting in the morning sun. But Anna didn't dare relax. She crouched low in the brush, holding Lily close, her ears straining for every snap of a branch or crunch of footsteps across the brittle snow. Hunter lay at her feet, chest heaving, the wound in his shoulder still seeping blood, but his eyes were bright, sharp with resolve, unbattered. He looked ready to fight again if he had to. Anna squeezed Lily's hand. "We can't stay here long. They'll find a way across." Lily looked up, her face streaked with tears and grime, but her eyes were steady. "You won't let them hurt us, will you, Mom?" Anna brushed the hair from Lily's forehead. "I swear, baby, not while I'm breathing." She surveyed their position. The cover here was good, but if Lewis and his accomplice circled downstream, they could flank them. Anna's military mind raced. She needed to buy time, maybe set a trap, or at least slow their pursuers. But first, she had to make sure they couldn't be tracked anymore. She scanned Hunter's wounds, making sure the GPS chip was gone. The blood had slowed to a trickle, but the dog was weak, his breaths shallow. "Stay with me, buddy," Anna whispered. "We need you." Lily pressed her mitten to Hunter's fur, trying to help, her small hands gentle. "He's my hero," she said softly. Anna smiled, even as fear gnawed at her gut. "Mine too." A distant crack, like a foot snapping a frozen twig, brought Anna's head up. Voices closer now. Lewis's rage was unmistakable, cursing and barking orders at the other man. They'd found a way across, or at least were trying. Anna's mind flashed through her options. The only defensible position was the frozen river, open ground, but the only way out. She looked at Lily. "Listen, we're going to move, okay? Quiet and quick. If I say run, you run for the trees on the other side and don't look back. Understand?" Lily nodded, lips pressed tight. Anna stood, scooping Hunter's leash and using all her strength to help him up. "Come on, boy, one more time." They crept to the riverbank, keeping low. The ice was already scored with their earlier escape, now streaked with footprints. Anna scanned for the best spot to make a stand. Her eyes fell on a wide curve of the river where the ice was thick, a fallen tree creating cover. She led Lily and Hunter there, heart hammering. The old marine instincts kicked in. She broke branches to set a trip line, scattered snow over the bloodstains, and crouched with Lily behind the log. Minutes passed. Anna's senses narrowed to the rhythm of her breath, the rise and fall of Hunter's chest, Lily's trembling beside her. Then the voices came. Lewis and the other man emerging from the trees on the far bank, guns drawn. Anna heard Lewis first. "You think you're some kind of hero, Anna? All you're doing is making things worse." Anna didn't answer. She gripped a branch, ready. Lily huddled close, eyes wide. Lewis scanned the ice, then spotted the line of footprints. He signaled the other man, and together they edged onto the river, pistols raised. The ice held, but Anna could hear the soft creaks beneath their boots. Anna waited, muscles coiled, timing her move. Hunter bristled, a low growl building in his chest. Lily squeezed Anna's hand, silent tears running down her cheeks. When Lewis was almost upon them, Anna stood suddenly, hurling a stone across the ice. It clattered, echoing like a gunshot. Lewis and the other man spun toward the sound. Right as Hunter lunged from cover with a snarl, launching himself at Lewis's legs, chaos exploded. Lewis stumbled, firing wildly, the bullet whizzing past Anna's ear. Hunter clamped his jaws around Lewis's arm, dragging him down. Anna sprang from cover, tackling the second man, knocking his gun away and wrestling him to the ice. Lily screamed, scrambling behind the tree. Anna's heart pounded. She fought the man with everything she had: elbows, knees, teeth, years of pain and fury. He landed a blow to her ribs, but she twisted, slamming his head against the ice. Lewis, one arm bleeding from Hunter's bite, managed to kick the dog away. He leveled his gun at Anna. "Enough! You ruined everything, you stupid!" Anna saw red. She grabbed a thick branch and swung, catching Lewis on the wrist. The gun skittered across the ice, out of reach. The second man lurched up, but Hunter, wounded as he was, lunged again, knocking him flat. Anna scrambled for the gun, scooping it up and turning, just as Lewis charged. "Stay back!" she screamed, finger tight on the trigger. But Lewis didn't stop. In that split second, Anna fired, a single warning shot into the air. The sound was deafening, bouncing across the river and silencing the world. Lewis froze, his face twisted with hate. Sirens wailed in the distance. Finally, backup. Anna's whole body shook, but she didn't lower the gun. "It's over, Lewis. You're done." But Lewis laughed, bitter and raw. "You think this ends with me? You think I was alone?" The second man groaned, spitting blood. "Shut up, Lewis." Anna stared at them, her mind reeling. The implications were staggering. This was bigger than one bad vet. A network maybe, a whole ring. Rage and relief warred inside her. Across the riverbank, police lights flickered through the trees. Chief Dale's voice cut through the air, amplified by a bullhorn. "Anna, drop the weapon! Hands up!" Anna did as ordered, dropping the gun and raising her hands. Lily ran to her, clutching her waist. Hunter limped to her side, blood staining the snow. Officers swarmed the scene, guns drawn, shouting orders. Dale himself rushed to Anna, his face a mix of relief and regret. "You okay?" Anna just nodded, exhausted. "It's bigger than you think. Lewis, he's not working alone. They're trafficking animals, maybe more." Dale cuffed Lewis and his accomplice, nodding grimly. "We've been watching him. We just needed proof. You gave us that, and almost lost your life in the process." Anna knelt beside Hunter, her hands gentle on his head. He licked her fingers, weak but alive. Lily hugged Anna tight, tears of relief streaming down her cheeks. "You're the bravest mom," she whispered. Anna pulled her close, feeling the truth of it in her battered body and soul. Hunter, bloodied and bruised, rested his head in Anna's lap. The three of them, broken, scarred but together, waited in the morning light, the river behind them and the future finally beginning to look a little brighter. Yet Anna knew healing would take time, for all of them. She glanced at Dale, at the police, at the broken men in handcuffs, and wondered how many scars the world could leave before you ran out of room. But she looked at Lily and Hunter, felt their warmth, and knew she would find a way forward. They all would. The commotion on the frozen riverbank faded to a blur as the first responders swarmed around Anna, Lily, and Hunter. The sharp urgency of survival was gone, replaced by an almost numb exhaustion. Anna barely registered the sirens, the shouts, the snapping of evidence bags and cameras. She felt as if she was floating above it all, held down only by the desperate grip of Lily around her waist and the weight of Hunter's battered head in her lap. It was over. But not really. Nothing this raw ever ended cleanly. Paramedics rushed toward them, voices urgent. "Ma'am, are you injured?" Anna shook her head, numb. "My dog. He's hurt bad." She barely recognized her own voice, shaky, raw, with unshed tears and days of adrenaline. One paramedic crouched beside Hunter, hands gentle but efficient, as he checked the gaping wound in Hunter's shoulder and the blood still trickling from his side. "We need to get him to the animal hospital right away. He's lost a lot of blood, but he's tough. Real tough." Anna wanted to go with him. Had to go with him. She pressed her forehead to Hunter's, whispering, "Don't give up. You've come this far, you hear me? Stay with us." As they loaded Hunter onto a stretcher, Anna tried to stand, but her legs buckled. She felt Dale's hand on her arm, steadying her. "Anna, you're in shock. Let's get you and Lily to the ambulance." Lily clung tighter, refusing to let go. Anna scooped her up, cradling her close as the paramedics guided them to the warmth of the waiting ambulance. She kept her gaze locked on Hunter until the doors closed, carrying him away to the animal ER. That was the moment Anna finally allowed herself to sob. Quiet, racking sobs that made her whole body shake. The dam of terror and guilt finally bursting. She pressed her face into Lily's tangled hair, letting the pain flow out at last. Inside the ambulance, Lily whispered, "You didn't give up, Mom. You never do." Anna wiped her eyes, looking down at her daughter who'd fought, who'd been so brave, who'd survived. "Neither did you, kiddo. Neither did you." At the hospital, everything was a blur. Bright lights, stinging antiseptic, the slow, clinical questions of doctors and nurses. They checked Lily over first, declaring her safe and whole except for bruises and shock. For Anna, the nurse wanted to keep her overnight, suspected broken ribs and exhaustion. But Anna refused to be separated from Lily or from news of Hunter. It was hours before Dale found them in the waiting room. Anna hunched in a chair, Lily asleep in her lap. He knelt in front of her, eyes soft with regret. "I'm sorry I doubted you, Anna. You did more than any of us. You saved her, and you blew open something much bigger. We've already found more dogs, other people involved. It's going to make a difference." Anna nodded, weary. "Just find a way to make sure it never happens again." Dale hesitated, then squeezed her shoulder. "You saved more than your daughter today. You saved lives, people and animals alike." But Anna's mind was only on Hunter. She begged for updates until, just before dawn, a vet tech came in with a tired smile. "He's in surgery now, but he's fighting. He's strong. You can see him soon." Anna spent the next hours pacing, mind a blur of worry and exhaustion. Lily woke, asking quietly if Hunter would be okay. Anna hugged her close, unable to promise anything but hope. Finally, as the sun crested over the frosted windows, the vet came to find them. "He's not out of the woods yet, but your dog, he's a miracle. We had to remove the bullet and repair some torn muscle, but he pulled through. He'll need rest, and there's risk of infection, but he's alive, and he wanted to see you." Anna and Lily hurried to the recovery room. Hunter lay on a pile of blankets, shaved and stitched, an IV running into his leg. When Anna knelt beside him, his tail thumped weakly. Lily dropped to her knees, throwing her arms around the dog's neck, whispering, "You came back. You're our hero." Anna stroked his ears, blinking back tears. "We all are, baby. We all saved each other." Word spread quickly around town. News vans arrived, reporters hounding the hospital for details of the retired K9 who'd rescued his family. Animal rescue groups and mental health advocates rallied to their story, raising money for Hunter's care and for all the other abused and lost animals suddenly being found as the ring unraveled. But in those first days, Anna kept the world at bay. She stayed by Hunter's side, sleeping on the floor, refusing to let go of Lily's hand. She allowed herself, finally, to cry in front of her daughter, to release the years of guilt and fear, and to accept the love and pride in Lily's small voice. "You're the bravest mom in the world." Chief Dale came by one last time before Anna was discharged. He handed her a letter, an official commendation for bravery, and an invitation to a community award ceremony. Anna read it and looked up, tears on her cheeks. "You know, I didn't feel brave out there. I felt desperate." Dale smiled, eyes kind. Desperation is sometimes just another word for love. That night, Anna curled up on the floor beside Hunter, Lily asleep on her arm. For the first time in years, Anna felt a quiet peace settle inside her. There was still pain and fear, still work to do. But they'd survived the darkness together, and that, she realized, was the beginning of something new. Not just for her family, but for every scarred soul who needed a reason to keep fighting. A brisk March wind rattled the windows of Ashland's little community center as townsfolk gathered for the award ceremony. The cold outside was fading, and sunlight spilled through high windows, making dust motes swirl in the air like confetti. Anna sat at the edge of the stage, her hands nervously twisting a program in her lap. Lily sat next to her, feet swinging in shiny new shoes, her favorite blue ribbon pinned to her dress. At their feet, Hunter lay sprawled on a special dog bed, stitches still healing, but eyes bright, tongue lolling with quiet pride. The last few weeks had been a whirlwind of hospital visits, interviews, therapy appointments, and community support. The town that once watched Anna with wary eyes now rallied around her family. Neighbors left meals at the door. Strangers stopped her on the street to thank her for her courage. The local animal shelter had been overwhelmed by donations, volunteers, and letters inspired by Hunter's loyalty. The scars Anna, Lily, and Hunter bore, physical and invisible, had become emblems of survival, not shame. Anna watched people file into the rows of chairs. Chief Dale in his dress blues, the mayor who'd signed the official commendation, half her old Marine unit flown in from across the country, families with children holding homemade "Thank You, Hunter" signs. There was an energy in the room, a sense that something heavy was being lifted, not just for her, but for everyone who'd ever felt alone or broken. As the ceremony began, Anna felt a familiar tightness in her chest. The mayor gave a speech about bravery and community. Dale talked about the investigation, how Anna's quick thinking had helped dismantle a trafficking ring that stretched far beyond their quiet town. He praised Hunter for saving lives, called him a true hero. There was laughter, applause, a few tears when Anna's name was called. She rose, legs trembling. She never liked public speaking, never liked the way attention made her feel exposed. But today, as she walked to the podium, Lily squeezed her hand and whispered, "You got this, Mom." Anna took a breath, facing the crowd, her words trembling at first but growing stronger as she spoke. "I used to think scars meant failure," she began, "that every loss was a sign I hadn't done enough. But what I've learned, what Hunter and Lily taught me, is that scars are proof you tried, proof you loved and risked and didn't hide from the hard things." She paused, looking down at Hunter, who thumped his tail in approval. "There were days I thought I'd never be whole again. Days when the guilt of not saving everyone almost crushed me. But I see now that healing isn't about erasing pain. It's about showing up for each other, even when it's hard. It's about reaching out a hand or a paw and saying, 'I'm here. I'll stay.'" The room was silent, everyone listening. Anna's eyes swept the crowd. She saw the mother of a lost soldier, a teenage boy with a service dog, an elderly couple who'd adopted a stray. She saw her story reflected in 100 faces. "We weren't rescued by one person," Anna continued, her voice clear. "We were rescued by love, by every person who cared enough to show up, to believe in us, to offer hope. That's what this community did. That's what Hunter does. Every day. There was a long pause as Anna gathered herself, and then Lily stepped forward, clutching a sheet of paper. She stood at the microphone, voice small but steady. I want to say thank you to my mom and to Hunter for being heroes. But I learned something too. You don't have to be perfect to be brave. Heroes aren't always the strongest or the fastest. They're just the ones who stay, even when they're scared. There was a rush of emotion, applause, sniffles, the quiet sob of a Marine in the front row. Anna knelt beside Lily, pulling her into a hug. Hunter pressed his head against their legs, sighing contentedly. As the ceremony ended, the mayor presented Anna and Lily with medals and handed Hunter a huge bone and a ribbon. Cameras flashed, but Anna barely noticed. The real victory was the lightness in her chest, the sense that, finally, her scars were not just reminders of loss, but marks of hope. Later, as the hall emptied, Anna lingered by the window, looking out at the crowd mingling in the sunlight. Dale joined her, hands in his pockets. You did good today, Anna smiled. I couldn't have done any of it without Hunter or Lily. Dale nodded, his gaze softening. What's next for you? Anna glanced down at her daughter, then at Hunter, who was making friends with a nervous puppy across the room. I want to do more, for the dogs that served, for the families who are struggling with loss. I don't want any canine or veteran to feel discarded or alone. That night, after the celebration, Anna sat at her kitchen table, drafting the paperwork for a new foundation, Hunter's Promise, a home for every hero. The goal was simple but powerful. Help retired K9S and their families adjust to civilian life, offer support for trauma and PTSD, and foster connections between those who carried invisible scars. Lily helped design the logo, a dog's paw and a child's hand, linked together. Hunter snoozed under the table, content and safe. The lesson that had cost so much was clear. Trauma wasn't weakness. It was the mark of a heart that had dared to love. And healing, Anna realized, wasn't a destination, but a choice, made again and again, every time someone reached out instead of turning away. As she tucked Lily into bed that night, Anna pressed a kiss to her forehead. I'm proud of you, she whispered. Lily smiled. I'm proud of us. Anna crawled in next to Hunter and let herself rest, not because the pain was gone, but because they had survived. Together. 1 year later, the world looked different to Anna. Spring sunlight streamed through the budding trees of Hunter's Haven, the new dog park and K9 rescue center built just outside Ashland's town limits. Grass grew in thick, lush swaths where only weeds and forgotten playgrounds had once been. Wind carried the sounds of laughter, barking, and the delighted squeals of children tumbling through open fields with their dogs. It felt to Anna like hope made real. She stood by the gate, a travel mug of coffee warming her hands, watching as families arrived with their dogs, some young and wild, some old and gentle, many bearing scars like Hunter's, inside and out. Today was the grand opening, and Anna could hardly believe it was real. A sanctuary for retired K9S, rescue dogs, and the people who needed them most. Lily darted past, tall and sturdy for her age, her blue ribbon pinned to her jacket. She was laughing with friends as they led a shy, trembling puppy toward the sun-warmed grass. Anna smiled, pride blooming in her chest. She caught sight of her daughter pausing by a stone marker near the entrance. Hunter's Promise, it read, in honor of every hero who ever came home wounded but willing to love again. Near the picnic tables, Hunter lay under the shade of a sprawling oak. His muzzle was grayer, eyes softer with age, but his spirit was as strong as ever. Children gathered around him, stroking his fur, feeding him bits of biscuit. He welcomed each one with a gentle tail thump, occasionally shifting his weight to lay beside a newcomer, especially the fearful, anxious dogs who arrived from shelters, unsure of their place in the world. Anna knelt beside Hunter, rubbing his ears. "You like your new home, old friend?" she asked softly. He pressed his nose to her hand, eyes half closed with peace. For the first time in so long, Anna felt whole. There would always be scars, on her, on Lily, on Hunter, but here they were honored, not hidden. She stood and surveyed the park. Therapy dogs in training, a group of teenagers teaching puppies to trust again, a pair of veterans swapping stories as they watched their dogs chase after a frisbee. Dale stood by the fence, arms folded, his patrol cap tucked under one arm. He caught Anna's eye and raised a salute, a rare grin breaking his usual sternness. The whole town had shown up for the opening. People who'd once kept their distance now asked for advice, shared stories of loss and rescue, brought bags of dog food and homemade treats. Mid-morning, Anna gathered everyone near the park's small stage. She invited Lily up with her, Hunter trotting faithfully behind. Anna faced the crowd, heart thudding with gratitude and awe. "A year ago," Anna began, "I thought the darkness would never lift. I thought the pain of what we lost would never let me breathe again. But I was wrong. Every act of rescue changes 2 lives, not just the one you save, but your own." She paused, her voice thick with emotion. "Courage isn't about never being afraid. It's loving someone enough to face the dark together. That's what Hunter taught me. That's what my daughter taught me. That's what this whole community has taught me." Lily stepped to the microphone, her voice clear and sure. "When I was lost, I remembered what my mom always says. We're braver together. And when you're scared, that's when you need each other most." There was a ripple of applause, and even a few tears in the crowd. Anna took the microphone again. "If you see someone, animal or person, alone or broken, don't look away. The bravest thing is to reach out and promise you'll stay. We're all rescuers, and we're all worth rescuing. That's the promise Hunter made, and that's the promise we're making here today." After the speeches, the park filled with celebration. Games for kids, agility runs for dogs, quiet moments of connection between strangers who suddenly weren't strangers anymore. Anna moved through it all, pausing to speak with a veteran about his new therapy dog, to comfort a child whose family had just adopted their first rescue pup, to hug Dale, who whispered, "You changed more lives than you know." She watched as Hunter, gray-muzzled but bright-eyed, lay beside a young dog, barely out of puppyhood, shivering with fear at the edge of the group. Hunter didn't force the puppy out, didn't bark or chase. He just lay quietly, patient and steadfast, until curiosity overcame fear. Little by little, the puppy inched closer, eventually curling up beside Hunter, finally safe enough to sleep. Anna's heart swelled. As the sun began to dip, Anna, Lily, and Hunter sat together on the grassy hill overlooking the park. For a moment, the world was perfectly still. Anna wrapped her arm around Lily's shoulder. "You know what I learned?" Lily leaned into her. "What?" "That courage is sometimes just staying, just loving enough to keep trying." Anna looked down at Hunter. "And that every scar can be a beginning, not just a memory." Lily grinned. "Are you going to make a speech every year?" Anna laughed, brushing the hair from Lily's eyes. "Maybe, but next time you're doing half of it." Hunter, content and tired, nosed Anna's hand, as if to remind her he was still listening. As the sky turned gold, families lingered, not wanting to leave the peace of Hunter's haven. Anna took it all in. Hope growing where fear used to live. Brokenness transformed by kindness. Scars worn proudly as proof that survival is possible. And so is joy. In that quiet, Anna whispered a promise, one she'd carry for the rest of her life. If you ever find someone lost in the dark, animal, child, or grown-up, be the person who stays. Be the promise. And as the park emptied and evening fell, Anna knew the lesson was true for all of them. Every act of rescue saves 2 lives, yours and theirs. Every scar, every trial, is a new path. And courage is loving enough to never give up. Hunter, Lily, and Anna walked home together under the stars, side by side. Heroes in their own way, carrying the light forward, one step at a time.